Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming out to our meeting tonight. I see some faces from last night. There's Mr. Jefferson. And if our committee members would go ahead and take their seats, we'll go ahead and start explaining a few things. We're very grateful for your coming out to attend this meeting tonight. I'd like to introduce the board, although we're missing one member that'll be here shortly. Got tied up downtown in a big commission meeting. So perhaps we can go through, how many of you have already filled out a survey with the 12 questions? Booyah, oh, that's great. Ms. Backus was very kind to go ahead and pull together a written survey that if you would like to fill it out, if you'd raise your hand, she'll go ahead and make sure you get one. I'd probably recommend listen to Carl Vinson before you cast your votes, because you're going to learn plenty in their presentation here shortly. And Miss Tamika in that beautiful dress back there with the orange flower will be happy to take them when you're finished with them. Thank you, Tamika. All right. So the format for this evening is very similar to what the City Council Commission employs. The speakers come up to this mic right here. I've been asked to tell you that you have to back up a little bit so not to get feedback, that they have corrected that from last evening. So, is that right now, Reggie? They can get close to it. Need to be close to it. All right, very good. If you wanted to speak, if you had already signed in over there on the form, that helps us because we don't always have the answers to the questions that are asked. And so today I've spent a good bit of my day calling back people with answers that we had to dig and drill down and find the answers to before. Those give us emails and cell phones to facilitate that process. You go ahead and line up for the microphone after Carl Vinson's presentation is over, and then we methodically take turns. Questions and comments are welcomed, and those with additional comments or questions will be welcome for a second round if they so choose, only after everybody's had a chance for their first comment. That's to make sure people can be heard, and we very much enjoy hearing from all of you. I do want to make an announcement that Commissioner Steve Fouché here, before we had scheduled these, has to leave us at 7:15. He is in Super District 10. Super District 10. If you had any questions specifically for him, we want to try to get that in, because he's got a prior commitment he's got to lead to get to. So if I can, I can introduce Ms. Barnhill when she gets here. This committee is Sheffy Robinson, and then Angela Backus, Tony Lewis, Frank Lewis, excuse me. Thank you. Frank, you are a kind soul too for putting up with me. Kind of like Lonnie was for calling his name wrong. Lonnie Wimberly, Coach Clint Bryant, Marcy, Charlie Coleman, Lee Powell, Steve Fouché, and Rod Pearson. And these are people that have been coming for probably in meetings, I would easily say 12 to 15 hours a month, add in another equal amount of time even on meeting weeks to do a lot of reading, which 2.5 to 3 reams of paper each. So this evening we are very grateful to have the Carl Vinson Institute of Government from the University of Georgia. They've traveled down from Athens to be here and inform our citizens. They have a presentation on the various types of government. Hopefully this will help you understand several things. What other urban and rural areas in the state of Georgia have our same form of government. Our consolidated city-county government, so there's only 8 of them. Then there are other forms of government that are delineated on a wonderful map that they have. They also speak about several other things. Why a charter? Why does a city need a charter? What does a charter accomplish? And then it goes on a bit further to describe the differences between what a charter should be about versus what the ordinances should handle. Very, very different functions done by different bodies. So if I can, this is Dr. Rex Facer, who heads up the team that is working with the City of Augusta.
I decided to bring my laptop up tonight because trying to navigate my phone last night was a little tricky. But thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you all this evening and to talk about the process to start with that the Charter Review Committee has been going through. And you can see it here in this little diagram. The first thing that happened was back early spring. The Charter Review Committee was appointed by the Consolidated City-County Commission. And now we have had a couple of changes since that initial appointment. We've had a few members who have had to resign for health reasons, among some other things. But we're delighted with the set of committee members that we have and their commitment to trying to give this a fair and thoughtful process. They've been reviewing and analyzing the current charter and talking about some changes and revisions. And then once they see a set of proposed changes, they vote on those. And I'll talk about it in a minute. They've voted on several changes so far. But there are still what we might call the meat of the coconut yet to crack. And again, we'll talk about that in the form of government, which is kind of the fundamental question is who's going to be governing Augusta Richmond. Once they go through that process, they will have potentially a new charter document that they will want to propose. Now, alternatively, they could simply say we want to make some changes, but not kind of wholesale do everything anew. That'll be the prerogative of this committee to make those recommendations. That proposal will kind of simultaneously be shared with a number of groups. It will be shared first and foremost with the legislative delegation. It'll also go to the commission. It'll go to the governor's office, among others, to make sure people see what the recommendations of the committee are. Now, the local legislative delegation ultimately gets to decide what to do with it. That's their prerogative, and we look forward to their decisions and ultimately presenting it to the General Assembly for their ratification. And from that, assuming that they move forward, it would then likely come to a vote if there were fundamental changes to the charter, to a vote of the people. Now, this process includes a thoughtful review. And so one of the first things that we've been doing is we've been highlighting different sections of the charter that haven't necessarily needed to stay in the charter. So, for example, one of the things that was critical to be in the charter when it was initially adopted were things that were about the initial consolidation. So, for example, if you were going to consolidate departments across Richmond County and Augusta, that would need to be in the initial charter. But since that happened roughly 30 years ago, there's no longer a need to say that if consolidated, the police department would be brought in, or the parks departments would be consolidated, or something of that nature. And so they reviewed those sections and have voted to remove what we call anticipatory language, so that's the if consolidated, then this would happen. And they've been analyzing other elements of the charter along the way, and I'll talk about some of those again in a moment. And so they've been making recommendations for deleting. We haven't made any recommendations on adding anything to the charter document yet. That will likely still come down the road. And it's all about trying to create a charter document that will allow Augusta, Richmond County to be governed in a more effective and efficient way. But perhaps the most important piece of that puzzle is getting input from the public. And there are several ways that they're trying to do that. One of those is by the kinds of public hearings that they're having tonight, giving you the opportunity to come and speak. And the committee's job is to essentially listen tonight. And then additionally, at every public meeting, there's also an opportunity for the public to come and address the committee. But most interestingly, there is a survey that you have the opportunity to talk, and the chair, Madam Wilhelmi, mentioned that at the very beginning, and we will show a QR code again, as well as a short URL that you could use to take it. As of yesterday, we had over 1,100 responses. We encourage you to let your friends know, and we would hope to have many more responses still. The more input we get, the broader perspective we have from the community, and that will be critically helpful to the committee as they move forward. Let me jump to this one. So every other Thursday, the next meeting will be this Thursday. The committee meets, and subcommittees also meet. And so the Finance Subcommittee and the Form of Government Subcommittee will also be meeting next Thursday. I believe those subcommittee meetings will be at 1:30, where the regular meeting will be at 10 o'clock. As I mentioned, so far, the committee has recommended removing that anticipatory language. The second thing that they voted to remove from the charter is language that is duplicative of language in the state's constitution or the state's general laws, out of the official code of Georgia. And so, again, those sections were recommended to be removed because state law and the Constitution already are supreme, and so there's no need to replicate that in the charter. And if state law changes, that section of the charter would be outdated and would need to be modified. And so they voted to remove that. The third thing that they've voted to remove were sections of the charter that are better dealt with in ordinances. So this could be things like salaries, things that are likely or possibly may need to be changed over time. Business regulations, land use policies, and those kinds of things. And again, we'll mention some of those. But they started with the document that was about this thick, and they've probably removed 100 to 120 pages of that's in that anticipatory language, that duplicative language, or items that are better suited for the ordinances. And so as they move forward, the fundamental thing that they need to think about is what really should the charter look like and what should it include? And as we think about that, we want to make sure everybody's clear on what the charter is and what it isn't. So the charter is the foundational document for the local government. In this case, it's the Constitution for Augusta and Richmond, the consolidated city and county. And it acts as the Constitution. It establishes the legal framework and the right to exist of Augusta Richmond. It defines the governmental structure, whether that be a mayor-council, a commission form, or a commission manager form, whatever form. It then outlines the roles and responsibilities of different people throughout the government. But you don't want it to define all of the responsibilities, because you may want to, it's important to have kind of that top level of responsibilities articulated, but you don't necessarily want the role of the dog catcher to be articulated in the charter, because you may want to change that. You may want them to also be a cat catcher, for example. Although cats are much more difficult to herd and catch than dogs, I imagine. So the charter also grants and limits powers and authorities of the different roles in the government. And you want that to articulate what are the roles and responsibilities of the mayor? What are the roles and responsibilities of the commission? What are the roles and responsibility of an administrator or a manager, depending on what role that you decide to take on in your form of government? It provides the legal basis for enacting ordinances. So without a charter, the local government would not have the ability to regulate any kind of activity in that space. And so it's an opportunity for accountability. That's been one of the themes that the committee has talked a lot about, is wanting to make sure, trying to figure out what those structures are that they want to include. includes several things. The first thing is the incorporation, so the creation of the government. Its power, ability to exercise power. It includes the general structure and form of government. And again, I'll show you several slides of an organizational officers of the jurisdiction. Kind of broadly, personnel administration. But again, it's best if it doesn't include things like salary years ago, and we said it was, say, $30,000, which may have been a reasonable amount 30 years ago. $30,000 doesn't have the same purchasing power and is probably to do some of those kinds of things. Highlights the role of the judicial branch. It highlights how elections are going to function within state law, obviously. It talks about issues around what taxes are authorized by the local government. It actually sets out broad parameters, and then within that, the charter will articulate which of those taxes talks about how budgeting is going to work, how the accounting process will work, provisions that don't fit neatly in other places. Now, things that are typically excluded from a charter are things that go in the ordinances. Time to time. I was listening to a county commission meeting, not Augusta Richmond's, and they were talking about changing the rental prices for the pavilions that the county has at their recreation facility. The public could continue to have good serviceable structures. Those costs have increased, and so they were proposing raising those from like $500 to $700 in the charter, but you want to have in the ordinances. And so there were a number of those kinds out of the charter and moving to the ordinances. Other kinds of things. You wouldn't want the standards for cleanliness of restaurants included emerge. For example, if you were to have, so you wouldn't want to have to go through the difficult process of changing the charter in environmental protections, traffic and parking, conduct, as well as administrative procedures. Now, you may or may not like city and county have chosen to deal with some of these issues, but the beauty of, and it's not that anything's ever easy to do, process to change an ordinance than it is to change the actual charter document itself. Seriously, which is why this committee has been spending as much time as they have been, and will continue to spend time as they continue to move. This charter was initially passed back in the mid-90s. There might be some things that have there might be the need to alter things to protect against some legal risks that may have essentially deal with charters, for example, that it's been 100 years since they language or other kind of practices that no longer make any sense. You also want to review the and have access to that document. One of the things that I think has been terrific, and we want to give, is it is the Charter Review Committee has had a website for a number of, as we have learned and navigated, IT has helped us actually make it more accessible. And so now if you go to Augusta GA, clear button that allows you to access the charter document. And if you're bored, your thoughtful comments as you look at that document. Is you want to update charters to make sure that you're fitting the needs of the local community. as those may change overnight, as I mentioned before, is what we call forms of government. And this is how the governing body is structured. The governments where cities and counties have been merged, unified government, much like Augusta Richmond. Now, there are different, each one of those happened. In Athens, Clarke County, for example, it was argued that it was eliminating duplication of services and administrative structures. In some of the smaller, essentially their cities were so small and they weren't providing sufficient services. So the county said, cities have some powers that counties will have the best of both worlds by being a city and a county, and it will enrich Richmond. It was a different story, and I'm sure many of you have heard those tales before, and some of you will probably share some of your perspectives on that this evening as well. There are a couple of counties that are lighter in color. Those are counties that have one person that's been elected, and they do all of the decision making in the county. Now, in small counties. Now, there are counties that have grown and they've said, we think we're outgrowing that form, and we want state or commission forms of one variety. Commissions have what we call a commissioner manager form, and I'll talk about the difference between a manager and administrator in a few moments, but there's some technical differences. Administrator playing a key administrative role in that county, assisting the elected officials in carrying out the day-to-day operations. That of a strong mayor, a mayor that has kind of significant. In that case, there is a more clear differentiation between executive responsibilities of the mayor and the legislative responsibilities. And in the true strong mayor form of leadership, city administrator, the city clerk, the auditor, etc., and the nominees of the president. It's that kind of model. Primary executive authority, they appoint department heads, and they develop and submit the budget, and they oversee the daily operations of the city or the county government. And in general, strong mayors possess a veto on the governing body. Now, an alternative form is one where we have what we call a weak. But the mayor and commission in that case, they've both been elected. The other commissioners, for example, the mayor and commission would appoint. The administrator generally would be responsible just to the mayor. The administrator would be kind of one of those key differences. In this model, the mayor tends to not have independent. What to do? They essentially are part of that governing body as a whole. They typically don't have veto body as a whole. They typically don't have veto commissions. That mayor position would the other members of the commission. The other members of the commission. Now, another form that you often will hear, and you'll notice in those two forms we talked about administrators. In this form, we call it a commission manager. And a manager is different from an administrator in a variety of ways. One of the primary ways they're different is that it's, in this case, you'll notice that it's the mayor and commission that appoint the manager, and the manager then is the one hiring the department heads. So they're reporting directly to that manager, where in the other models, and one of the other differences is that often, now that said, you can have an administrator that the commission again, the difference between an administrator and manager, the manager is appointed by and reports to the administrator if they aren't meeting the expectations of that government. So that part is the same, that managers and administrators, and they often would require commission approval before, employee discipline or terminations or those kinds of things. But both managers and administrators can function and serve urban and rural communities. Augusta Richmond County is that you have both rural and urban parts of your community that may need to be governed in unique. That's the stuff on the manager. The last form of government that I want to mention. So we're on the form of government commission slide. Yep, that one. Thank you. The commissioners, now you'll notice officers like the sheriff that are articulated in the state's constitution. So in the middle, And one of the ways that this is often done is individual finance, depending on the number of commissioners. And so you would then have each of those 3 people or 5 people would be given 2 or 3 different department commissioners are often part-time, and so you're trusted in an efficient and effective way.
Okay. Come back and forth?
Sure.
Thank you, Dr. Facer. Can I ask Macy Lane if you could send that to me so I can get it to Chris Mullen so it can be put on the website and people can refer back to it? That'd be wonderful. Also, before we get started, I wanted to acknowledge a couple people that have drifted in, and you let me know who I'm missing. So we've got Mayor Pro Tem Wayne Guilfoyle, Super District 10, Alvin Mason, who we are so sorry to see go. Happy to have you here. And then Tony, that's you back there? Okay. I have cataract, so I'm glad to hear that's you. All right. And then also our Fernley, who this afternoon received the endorsement to replace Mr. We told her she can't go very far, that's for sure. So if it is okay with them. Thanks, Mika. Appreciate it, sister.
Mine's gonna be quick.
Okay, and the thing is, if for
Foreman area, 2717 Willis Foreman Road. Of the charter wasn't working.
a team that is helping advise us and keep us 1895. It's not so much that, there is a reason most governments go back and revise charters routinely every 10 to 15 years for a city our size. They do that for, Dr. Facer went through the reasons why you do that, but probably the bigger reason though is that there are thoughts that possibly there are many things you could do better, tweak, to serve the citizens better, to keep the finances hammered down tightly so that you would have some confidence in how your tax monies are being spent. I hope that helps.
But I think I said it's very broad. That's a very broad statement. But
It is.
if you can narrow it down a little bit specifically, what's wrong with us?
Yeah, we're having trouble hearing you over these other things.
Go to the mic.
Yeah, they asked you to.
What I'm trying to do is just, what I would like to hear is specifically what is wrong with this current charter specifically and why we need to change it.
You have 11 different opinions here, and it's time to
Okay,
review it.
All right. Ma'am, I appreciate your answer. Thank you.
Thank you, hon. Yes, sir.
LSB Albright, 823 Spruce Street, Augusta, Georgia. I have a couple of concerns because I watch y'all every week. Number one, I do take issue with the fact that I heard and y'all agreed that we was gonna get rid of this strong mayor, weak mayor. And I come to this session and I'm still seeing strong mayor and weak mayor. I don't care which one it is, I do prefer that it stays the way it is because I have yet to understand. I heard him say that we want a government that is effective and efficient when 90% of the business that occurs down there is on the consent agenda. And then, so I mean, I'm trying to figure out, as Dr. Frazier said, what's the issue except for the fact that we have some in this community, and I'm gonna say it just like I'm gonna say it, we have some in this community who wanna change things, not for now, but for the future. And that's the issue. We don't need anything done. If you wanna tweak the charter, that's one thing. But we were bamboozled to get a vote for the mayor. That shouldn't have happened the way it did. So now we here again, we wanna change to a strong mayor. We got a great form of government. All we need to do is tweak the things that need to be tweaked, and let's move on.
Thank you, sir. Also, Commissioner Don Clark just came in as well, and I believe Mayor came on in too. There's Garnett. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate that. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, my name is Gayla Kesey, 2837 Cornelia Road. This is my commissioner. All right, I serve as co-president of the League of Women Voters of the CSRA. I'm here tonight to offer a viewpoint grounded in the League's long-standing positions on government structure, accountability, and public participation. The League of Women Voters supports a form of local government that are representative, responsive, transparent, and once again, accountable. That means structures where powers are clearly defined, checks and balances are maintained, and the public has meaningful access and input, not just in theory, but in practice. Regarding government structure, where a local government experiences recurring tension between elected leadership and administration, which we have seen, the League supports professional management and the city manager model, in which a trained executive is hired by and accountable to the full governing body. This approach can help depoliticize day-to-day operations, promote continuity across administrations, and ensure services are delivered effectively and equitably. A manager system works best when authority to hire and fire department heads is placed within that professional administrative function, balanced by oversight from the full commission. Concentrating those powers under an elected official increases the potential for politicized staffing decisions and undermines long-term stability. On veto power, if veto authority is included in the charter, it must come with sufficient safeguards, such as requiring a supermajority to override to encourage negotiation and consensus. A veto without strong checks risks deepening that political divide that we see and producing more of the gridlock this government already struggles with. Regarding the process, it is troubling that changes to the charter, the county's foundational document, can move forward with just 6 committee votes. That is the same threshold required to approve a business license. In contrast, both the U.S. and Georgia constitutions require 2/3 majorities to propose amendments. Charter changes should be reflective of broad agreement, not a bare minimum. Now, on the public survey, I have taken it, and I left extensive comments for several reasons. Several of the survey questions were overly narrow and appeared to suggest a desired response. For example, asking whether Augusta-Richmond County, quote, needs a mayor, without clarifying whether that means ceremonial, legislative, or executive authority, limits the respondents' ability to answer meaningfully. Similarly, presenting only 5, 7, and 10-year review cycles without acknowledging other options, such as with triggers or as needed, fails to capture community insight. When public input tools are flawed or overly constrained, it erodes confidence in the process and any recommendations that follow. Finally, accountability matters. This is the first full charter review since consolidation 30 years ago. This is the first full charter review since consolidation 30 years ago. We cannot afford to treat it as a checklist or a rushed exercise. Residents want more than surface level reforms. They want a government that is truly representative of the whole community, committed to ethical conduct, and structured to serve all of the people, not just the well-connected. In that spirit, the League urges this committee to center transparency, fairness, and broad-based consensus in your recommendations. Charter reform isn't just a legal exercise, it's an opportunity to restore trust and reimagine a local government that works for all of us. Thank you.
Ma'am, before you're seated, can I get you to repeat your name so we can follow up with you?
Sure, my name is Gayla, G-A-Y-L-A, Keesee, K-E-E-S-E-E.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you for coming.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Hugh Jones, 3130 Bellamy Drive. First of all, I have to remind you, I wasn't for consolidation because when the government was limited, a city of Augusta went bankrupt. We don't forget about that. We don't need limited government. I want to know what's wrong with the charter as it is. The more in, the more checks you have. 3 people, 4 people, you can get in cahoots and do what you want to do. I listened to you, said you're going to point this person is out. Then when you threaten that person, they may not even have a job. It's more to this than what y'all doing. 5 people to run a city of this size, that's not even logical. It's not logical. Y'all have to realize where we come from. I grew up in this city. And now, y'all want 4 or 5 people to run it. That don't make no sense. Matter of fact, we're a city of about 68 to 65% black. How much reputation are we gonna have? If you got 3 people, 3 whites and 2 blacks on there, are we gonna have a fair choice?
Let me just correct something. What he was describing were other communities in Georgia. I don't think anybody is considering that.
But I'm talking about Augusta, Georgia.
Right, but we're not considering what you're
Those other
upset about.
communities, we are concerned about home,
Right, and I get that.
not those others. And I am real, and then y'all talk about weak mayor, strong mayor. Mayor will tell you, I give him a harder time than anybody, but I never call him weak. You know, y'all should be ashamed of yourself even saying that. we need to be clear with what we do, what we stand for. Folks, y'all need to think about what's going on here. All this about redistricting and all this other stuff. Look, I don't want you cutting out my bread. I want my bread to keep coming. And I get really emotional about this. And I can point something else out to you. McIntyre might have did wrong, but when he was in office, the city grew. Charles Walker might have did wrong, but when he was in office, we had business coming in. So what's coming in now? And the thing is, when we start getting stuff in, we're ready to change. We've been bamboozled even by the James Brown Arena. Do y'all understand where I'm coming from? This host y'all doing, y'all need to cut this out. People need to stand up and be accounted. And need to hold them accountable. The more councilmen you have, the more you have to hold them accountable. 4 or 5, y'all may get to be buddies. I worked the corporate world, I know that part. But I'm not happy with this, and I'm telling you that right now. And people, let's stand up and do about it.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Bill Fenoy. I live at 1420 Commonwealth Way, Hepzibah, Georgia, 30815. And I have several concerns about what I'd like to see take place with the charter. First of all, I would like to see the mayor and the commissioners run as Republicans, Democrats, Independents, have some type of party affiliation. That way, when people go to the polls to vote, they will have some idea of who they are voting for. Mr. Guilfoyle is my commissioner, but he's also my friend. Another thing that I would like to see, I would like to see the elections for the commissioners and the mayor take place in November rather than May. In May of 2024, Richmond County had 128,000 registered voters. Only 28,000 or 21% turned out for that election. In November, Augusta had 129,000 registered voters, but 84,000 or 65% turned out. So I think that if we want to maximize voter participation, then we should go back to having the mayor and the commissioners elected in November, when you have a governor or a president running for office. What I've heard on the campaign trail running for office in May is that I only vote for president and governor. And my last concern, and I want everybody to know that I have nothing but the utmost respect for the Carl Vinson Institute. As a commissioner, they did several audits on a lot of our departments, and they did an outstanding job. But what my concern is that a city with a more than 60% African American community, then the advisory team, I believe, should be more diverse, and it should be more inclusive. This is not to say that they're doing anything wrong, but I believe that if someone on your team that looks like me and we're having a discussion, then my input would give you a perspective that you didn't realize because you're you and I'm me. And this is no reflection on the job that you all are doing and have done. And that's all. And thank you, and good luck to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Reverend Williams. Look at that snappy dresser. Here he comes.
Man, old man, still trying to move, but I'm really concerned, and I got several things on my mind. First of all, I appreciate the Carl Vinson Institute for the 16 years that I served as commissioner, and I thrived. I missed 2 meetings in the whole 16 years, so I didn't miss any of the training or anything else. But I'm surprised when I heard Dr. Faison talked about all of the different branches, could be branches of government. I thought I knew the charter, but I'm confused myself, because I heard all of this stuff going in and what it could be and what other folks got, and you who have not worked downtown, I'm sure you're confused. Now, you might not say you are, but I'm sure you're confused. So I know the real reason that we're here today and how we've been before. We forget about the elephant that's still in the room. And ain't no sense in us acting like he's not here. He's been here all the time. It's still a race issue, y'all. It's still about what's right. Now, they done redrew the lines, and I say they because as the 16 years, I still don't know who decided to redistrict this district or redistrict that district, but they went in and they changed they cut the streets up so much till one side of the street was in District 1, other side of the street was in District 2. That's how bad they got. But it's got to the point now they can't cut them no more. So because they can't cut them no more, we got to do something different. So we want to change the government now. We want to reduce it from 10 to 5 and run citywide. Well, wait now, you know, Marcia, you're shaking your head now, but let me say something. Well, listen, okay, listen. Somebody was saying the other week, and he ain't no friend of mine, but he's a friend of a few of us, he talking about what the streets said. I'm in the streets. I'm telling you what the street is still saying. We used to be blind, but we're not blind anymore. We're talking about fairness. We ought not to do black. We ought not to do white. We ought to do what's right. And because of the 1950s and 60s, the majority of this community was white. But in 2025, the majority of the commission is black. And they don't show that representation. So I've got an issue. I got an issue when we act like we don't see what's really going on or we don't know no better. We do know better. Dr. Frazier asked the question about who decided to change the charter. The ordinance and the charter is 2 different things. Every city's got ordinances. You got to have ordinances to guide your traffic. You got to guide your development. But we mixing ordinances and the charter together as if they one thing. That's not true. Every city had to be chartered. Let's not forget we had an old city and a county that we put together. Most folks didn't even want it, but we put it together. When it got together, we end up with an administrator and not a manager. There is no difference between an administrator and a manager. I don't work with Fred Russell. I work with, what's the other name? You're going to have a senior moment one of these too. Well, I work with Janet Jackson. I work with Fred Russell. I work with who's that? George Cove especially. They brought him out of Virginia. But still, these administrators has a job. The problem is that the state representative have put in what we call some position that that we don't really understand. Well, we can't do anything. The city of Augusta can decide to change direction, and they can terminate somebody because they just decided to go in a different direction. We look at the commission, look what y'all done. That's a loophole that the state government had put in place that we can decide, the finance director, whoever we want to say, look, we ain't firing you, we just changing direction. But you can't, your criteria don't fit this other job we got, so you out of a job. That looks bad on the commission when that happens. But we don't really see what is really going on. So we need to understand we got several people that's on the state legislature who come up with this enterprise. Do you know you can't tell an enterprise to do anything? The commission has to follow what the state law said about enterprise. Our water bill goes up 3% every year. The money don't come to the city. That's an enterprise. You got the development enterprise. You got the Canal Authority enterprise. You got the James Brown Arena Authority enterprise. Commission can't say nothing about that. So if you're going to change the charter, we need to look at the things that need to be changed and not what's working for the people. Like it or not, this is what it is. And I say again, we ought to treat everybody as fair. You don't get the same representation on this side of town you get on the other side of town. And the reason we don't get the same representation on this side of town we get on the west side. Not even downtown. Marcia, I spent 16 years and I never had a meeting about the bridge to nowhere. In the whole 16 years, when they're going to build the bridge from here to nowhere, and everybody never had one meeting about that. And they talked around it, but never had a meeting about it. Now we can put a zip line across there. And how many of y'all going to zip line? 2 of y'all, maybe. If you're going to do something that's going to benefit the people. Economic empowerment. When I got in my car, a young lady, where she at, told me, say, I remember you tried to get the racetrack. Oh, they laughed, they jibed. The racetrack was the biggest investment we could have made. We could have spent $5 million that would generate $30 million a year. And they wouldn't do it. But we want to grow. So I'm very disappointed in how things are acting as if we don't know what's going on. The voters are standing up. The voters are coming out. The voters are not going to sit back any longer. Well, wait now, you said something. You had said at one of the meetings I attended that if the people wasn't satisfied, they need to come down and complain. If they wasn't satisfied, they would be down and complain. They must be satisfied. You have to encourage them to come to complain to you. So I take issue with that. But again, I think we got a good city. We got a consolidation bill. There's no difference between the manager and the administrator. The administrator works for not 6 bosses or 10 bosses. She works under the pleasure of the mayor and the commission and takes 6 votes for either one, a manager or administrator. It takes 6 votes to fire an administrator. It takes 6 votes to fire a manager. There is no difference. Administrator hires everybody up to the department head. Up to the department head, the manager or the administrator recommends that person to the commission. And they have their authorization to vote to elect that person.
So if you would, instead of going back to your chair, can you stay right there so I can just ask the general public some questions real quick to try to get a handle on things? As I would like to refer back to things that you and I have talked about off topic. Is this group aware that, or is it important to this group that this community grow? More jobs, keep your kids at home so they want to stay here? I'm glad to hear that. All right, certain things have got, the table has to be set for that to happen. It can't be very transactional. Half the commissioners who are here right now just sat through a 5-hour meeting, you know, and it's painful. Absolutely painful. No, that's not the case. There is no reason for that to be that way. And you can we can debate that, but here's the other thing. We do want to get on to creating jobs for our young.
I appreciate your question.
Yes.
I have 3 daughters who moved away, and most of them, 2 of them stayed away, and one moved back. But let me tell you what the reason is. that I've been told and what the street is saying again about why people tonight in Augusta. Augusta is shut down. At 10 o'clock at night, you can't eat in Augusta unless you go to the Waffle House. So who gonna move to Augusta and travel, come to Augusta and they go to the James Brown Arena, anything else, and then got to stand in line at the Waffle House to get something to eat? There's nothing to do. Oh, there's some bars downtown. There's some spots you can go in. I'm talking about some real entertainment. There's no jazz club. There's no supper club. There's no comedy club. Only thing you can do in Augusta is go to bed. That's the only thing you can do. If you're gonna grow, you're gonna have some growing pains. Listen, Moss, I appreciate everything. I'm just passionate about it because I've been seeing it all my life. I grew up and I had the opportunity to speak on these issues, and I did that many years, but I don't see no changing. It's still us and them. We need to stop that.
So we need to continue to talk, and I'm grateful for that friendship because we do talk. So that's good news. Thank you.
Hi.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Esther Moore. I live in Hepzibah, Georgia. Can you hear me? My first question is, why when I entered the room, I was asked if I wanted to speak, I had to sign my name and give everything about myself. What was the purpose of that?
So we were advised by the clerk of commission that is their protocol, and that is what we were instructed to do for public hearings.
So are you adhering to, because from what I've witnessed, from what I've seen, is very much what I see every week when I watch the commission meeting, is that that's not what has happened. That was,
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand.
Okay. I can't understand either. I can't understand. That's okay.
So
let's
Ms.
move on to my question about this.
Thank
I
you.
understand that the governing authority appoints members to this Charter Review Committee. My question is, what specific criteria was used to select the members for this committee, and were these members vetted for conflict of interest?
Good question, good question.
My understanding, and perhaps the sitting commissioners will straighten me out if I get it wrong. My understanding that they have been talking, the commissioners have been talking for several months about the need to revisit this charter, and it was settled among themselves that each district commissioner would select one person who would represent that district, one for each of the 10 districts and one for the mayor. And so that was appointed sometime in the middle of March. And then there was a talent bank form that had to be submitted to the clerk's office. She went ahead and culled the list down to make sure they were not sitting on any other boards. And then that person was put in the contention for inclusion on the committee. Is that right?
Okay, my question is, and I understand you can't answer this question because you didn't do the appointing. Since we have several commissioners that are here, I would like for one of these commissioners to answer my question as to if these members on this committee were vetted for conflict of interest.
All right. Who wants to take a shot at that? Come on up, please.
When you use the term conflict of interest would be, for us, any former commissioner or anybody that serves on any other board. Everybody up here on this, behind the table, I appreciate each and every one of them for their willingness to serve. But they don't serve on another board. They were selected by each commissioner from their district, from Commissioner District number 1 all the way to Commissioner District number 10, which is super district, as well as the mayor's appointment. So I don't know what you mean by conflict of interest. Nobody else served on any other board. But it's the people who we chose as people that we have a relationship with. I don't think there's anybody up here that didn't know who appointed them. So that's it in a nutshell. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, because that's the same, I watch your meetings weekly, and that's the same thing that I see happening every week, is that things are done because of who you have relationships with. So that's what my concern was about the appointees and how they were selected. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry you have to walk so far to get to that. All right. Have at it, sister.
So I'm going to say what I have to say. It's not necessarily about the, okay. I might not ever get this audience again, so I'm piggybacking Reverend Williams. I'm sorry, my name is Vannery Gibson. I live at 201 Dogwood Drive, Augusta, Georgia. That's off of Highway 56. And I'd like to say that I'm sitting here listening to all of this, and I feel like we're just wasting time. I look at North Augusta and how they have grown. They might fight over there, but they are consistently growing. Everybody's leaving Augusta, even myself, to go shop in North Augusta because I don't have a grocery store in South Augusta that I can go to off of Highway 56 to buy groceries. We don't have restaurants on Highway 56. When we go out to eat, we have to go down. Applebee's is about the best thing that we have over in that area that we can go and get something to eat. We have to go to South Augusta, you know, to get food. I don't understand why West Augusta is growing so much. Grovetown is growing so much. Augusta is not moving, people. We are staying in the same spot, and we have been for years. What are y'all doing other than fighting about the James Brown Arena? There are other things that we need to do and leave the James Brown Arena alone. Get people grocery stores in their neighborhoods, get us some restaurants in our neighborhoods, get us some street lights on Highway 56, some sidewalks, and Willis Foreman Road, really, we are not doing anything. Our city is continuing to just go down. Augusta is going down. Only time we get money in here is when we get the masters in Augusta. That's the only time you see people start trying to fix up Augusta, Georgia, is when we get masters time. What about down in East? I own a house in East Boundary. I own a house in Highway 56. East Boundary people don't have nothing, no grocery store. They have to go to a Family Dollar. There's nothing wrong with the Parkers, but we need more than the Parkers in Augusta. You know what I mean? The people don't have anything. It's like they've been forgotten about. So I'm like I said, I might not ever get this audience again, so I just had to say what is on my mind. People, we need to do better. Thank you.
Thank you, and I hope that isn't your last opportunity. Ms. Robinson has offered to take a microphone around so people don't have to walk up so far. So if you'll raise your hand if you wanted to speak, she'll bring it to you, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Yes, while I was sitting here thinking, and I was thinking about, sometimes all of us, I guess, get off track. If I was in here determined to know why we doing this. But while I was sitting here, I'm thinking, I think Reverend Williams said it about growth and how you have opportunities to grow. Sometimes we don't take it because of the person who suggests it. It's a good idea. It's based on who come up with the idea or who's pushing it. I learned that real well when I was in the school board. I had to give my ideas to somebody else because it's not about Wayne Frazier with the idea. It's about getting the idea to work for our children. I'm saying all that to say this. One of the other reasons why people don't move to Augusta is we got a failing school system. We done had an F for the last 20 years, and we got a $500 million budget, And the prime reason for that budget is for our children to succeed and grow. And that's the number one thing we haven't done while I was on the board anyway. We haven't seen any progress. And who want to live in a community where the schools are failing? And the darker the school became, the lower the standards became. I lived through that. I saw it. The darker the school became, the poorer the children became, the lower the standards. I saw it with my own eyes. I worked through it. So what I'm saying in relation to this charter, is it a way that we can put in the charter some kind of way that we can orchestrate something where the commissioners and the board members need to work together some kind of way? Because this all I was said, it's not us or them, this board members and the commissioners over here. We need to find a way where we can work together, because economically the school system bring all the money in. A lot of people think the city got the money. We got that money over there. And the school system is failing, and the more we fail, the more money they give us. And then the more money they give us, the more schools get built that we don't need. What they're used to having a school when the school is brand new, but the children walking in the front door and out the back door with a high school diploma that can't read. These children can't read with a high school diploma in their hand. They can't read at a 5th grade level. Ain't nobody saying nothing about it. But anyway, think about that, sir, from Carl Vincent. See the way you can swoop something in there and make us work together. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Oh, I see you. I'm gonna come back here. I'm sorry. Didn't see you at first. That's okay.
Good evening. I am Inger Carter. I live at 705 Macon Avenue, next to Good Hope Church. And my question is, along with the young lady, I'm in East Augusta, East Boundary, whatever you want to call it, and we don't have grocery stores and restaurants down on that side of town. I have to go to North Augusta, Riceboro Road, or Peach Orchard Road, so I would like to see a grocery store and restaurants down on my side of town.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Kim Walthour, 3801 High Point Drive. My question is, number one, I know this is a huge undertaking, big book. I'm trying to read my way through it. How long will this committee last before decisions are made?
Do you have another question? Okay. She's gonna answer that.
In theory, it's supposed to be March of 2026. We have elected as a group to take our time and do it right. That although decisions I think are going to be made along the way, because we have, worked on procedures for getting things right, and now it's time to wade into the weeds and start getting to the tough stuff.
Part B. So as you make your way, the finalization of the charter comes back to the commissioners?
No.
It lies within your hands?
No.
I'm asking.
When our work is done, my understanding, based on the reading of what is in the charge, it will go to the legislative delegation and to Atlanta.
Okay.
And they're basically able to do several things. They can ignore all of it and say, we're not doing this. They can take surgical knife and cut it all apart and do it however they'd wish. So this is a recommending document. It is our best assessment as a group for how things would be best for what we see to be the overarching future goals for our city, to address some of the things that are not happening.
Last question. So that I'm clear. So no final proposal to the community?
So after the legislature finishes with what they'd like to do, it comes back to Augusta for the citizens to vote on themselves. So you all will be able to cast votes.
I think the question she's asking is, does the city get to see it before we send it to the legislature?
I'll say that again. Let Dr. Facer answer this. Thank you.
Our understanding is that it will be distributed at the same time to the legislative delegation, as well as to the commission, as well as to the governor's office. And there may be one or two other places that it goes as well.
I'll clarify that a little bit. As changes are made, they are posted to the CRC website. You get to see what has been changed and everything from the CRC website. So please take down the augustageorgia.gov/CRC. That takes you to everything. So I hope that better answers. And you had, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say I'm out of order because my name is not on the list, but my name is Jonica Mitchell. My address is 1112 Walters Trail, Hephzibah, Georgia, 30815. And I want to speak specifically to the persons that have stated about the food deserts down in East Boundary and their need to travel over to North Augusta. That's how North Augusta grows. We vote over here to have SPLOST funds that comes out of the sales tax. If you're spending your sales tax in North Augusta, the money's not here for us to get the things that we need. I punish myself daily to spend my money in Richmond County because there's other places that I know I can get the things that I need, but I punish myself daily to spend my money in Richmond County because I want to see that 0.5% that I voted for to be used here. So those are the things that when we're voting, let's make sure we understand what we're voting for so that we can make sure it's used appropriately in the county in which we live. And when you talk about growth, I'm all for growth, but Richmond County does not have the infrastructure to support the growth that we want. And when you leave here tonight, just stay on Willis Foreman Road for about 5 minutes and look at the patchwork of tar that's put on a main thoroughfare for the garbage trucks that pick up for all of Richmond County to get to the landfill. That road can't handle those trucks. We don't have the infrastructure to support the things that we want. So the first thing is, let's just get some basic things like the street lights fixed since we had a hurricane to come through here and tear the city up. Let's figure out how to build better roads instead of bringing these Oreo cookie crumbs out here, and we're going to have more potholes next week that's going to tear up our cars that we can't even drive to the Parker's Kitchen to get gas. I'm all for the charter review because I believe any living document needs to be reviewed. If changes are needed, please help us understand why they're needed. But at this time, yes, a document does need to be reviewed because if we're still operating the way we were 30 years ago, and talking about manipulation of the people need to be sitting at the table and one can decide to vote and one can abstain and one can't do this and one don't show up so then nothing gets voted on. If that's what we really want here in Augusta, Georgia, then we need to just forget it. Don't worry about any kind of progress here. We're going to live like it was 30 years ago, 35 years ago, 45 years ago, whatever it is. But if you want to be in 2025, a document that runs a city of this size needs to be looked at regularly, and those things that are needed to help us continue to progress need to be in place. And whether it's a city administrator or a city manager, that's a title. What are the duties? A title, I'm going to quote Deion Sanders on this, a title just shows me where your office is. I want to know what you do.
Are you able to hear now? Can I offer you a phone number that if you do have street lights out and they're Georgia Power lights, there's two ways. We don't have them at all. Okay, all right. Different beast.
Center. Please don't get me started on what's needed. Just right here on Willis, you don't have to go far. Just stay here on Willis Foreman Road. And then go to Tobacco Road. We have more pedestrians out here now than we've ever had because of decisions being made downtown to relocate persons out here. They come out here, they've never had to push a trash can to the curb. They've never had to use a washer and dryer, and then they probably never had a car. And they come out here and they can't even drive, they can't even catch a bus to get to the doctor. Or if you need to get to the doctor to schedule a ride, some people want $75 one way to get to the doctor. That's crazy. But no, ma'am, the moment you hit Willis Foreman Road right here, and don't go down here towards Dean's Bridge where you see people having to walk in the ditch because we're a community of no sidewalks.
Good evening. My name is Ingrid Schenkel. I live at 2025 McDade Farm Road. And I came out tonight. I have several questions. Maybe some of them not about the charter, but she touched on some of it. About this apartment complexes, all the apartment complexes that are being built around here. I am a homeowner as well as I own several homes that I rent out, and we have more apartment complexes that are coming up that are not, I mean, people are running back and forth across the streets from the apartment complex out here on, I guess it's Peach Orchard Road right here. Taxpayers' dollars, anybody paying taxes besides the homeowners, because we know the apartment complex people that are coming there, they're not paying any taxes, but who has the authorization for the places to be rezoned for apartment complexes?
Okay, one thing, we love the comments, everybody, but some of the comments are commission related, and we can't assist with that, but we have commissioners here who can. And please talk with them after the event. What district are you? Yes, please address to your commissioner. Right. No, right, so planning and zoning for those things. If we can, please keep your comments about the actual charter review so that everybody can be heard. Commission items, we will refer you to your commissioner to assist as much as possible. I see you two back here. I'm gonna get this gentleman right here. Thank you. I'm going over here.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon. Thank you very much. My name is Clarence Kendrick. I live at 3022 Eagle Drive, Augusta, Georgia. I'm in District 5. I just need some answers to be sure I'm clear on the formation of the Charter Review Board. Correct me if I'm wrong. Established by the Augusta Commission, which include the mayor, appointed positions to review the charter in an advisory capacity to make proposals, to offer proposals for changes. Those proposals, if they ever come about, they go to what body? Say again? Why don't those proposals or suggestions come back to the governing body that appointed them? I'm assuming that the Charter Review Board was not appointed by state legislators, correct? So it is the legislative body in Richmond County, better known sometimes as Article 1, we the people, established this board, correct? For this board to review the charter and offer some possible suggestion. And those suggestions now gonna bypass Article 1 and go to Atlanta? I don't want to be sure I understood it correctly.
So the recommendations will go simultaneously. So at the same time, it will be shared with the county commission. It will also be shared with the legislative delegation, as well as the governor's office, among others. And so the governing body will receive it, but the legislative delegation will also receive it at the same time.
Okay. Now, that's where I'm confused. This body, Charter Review Board, was created and appointed by Richmond County Commissioner. And you're going to send it to 2 or 3 places. Okay, somebody have to help me afterwards to understand that. Now hold on, I got another couple of questions, and I'm gonna give up the mic. It was asked by 2 people that spoke who come up with this thing that the charter need to be changed? Didn't get an answer on that. But, it sounds negative, but I want to give you a compliment. Carl Vinson will tell you, and I think you all agree, that this review board is good, right? But I see you operating and got the same ineffectiveness as our commissioners. That leads me to believe that if something wrong with the commission and you all are a mirror in your effectiveness or ineffectiveness as a commission, something must be wrong with that board. Is it the charter or the board or the people that we have on it? Now that's my question. Final question, I'm gonna let you off the hook.
No.
Carl Vinson talked about weak mayor, strong mayor. Here's the question. Did the board agree to a super strong chairperson? Because I ain't heard none of them say anything.
So you keep me straight. Let's answer the questions in order. I believe the county commission, when they adopted this, and they're here, they can set the record straight. It was recommended to them, and they elected to have this body work like devils to go ahead and try to get this straight, and we are trying. 11 very well-intentioned citizens that don't have any financial or other connections to city government in any form or fashion. So that was considered a good thing. The reason the document will go to the state legislature is by law that is who takes it and has the only power. You can correct me if you'd like, but they're gonna, okay. But in any case, it is sent to them in the same way it was in 1995, and every other charter in the state goes to the state legislature and gets examined. They have the power to override what we come up with. What's that? Okay, and so then, when they finally approve what is going to come back as the final product, then it goes to the electors here in Richmond County for endorsement or refusal. Is that right? I mean, let me do my League of Citizens person is going to set me straight here. Yes. Oh, Sheffy's got the mic. I'm sorry. Come on up here to this one. It's okay. You can come on up here too. Either way is fine. You're trying, and thank you for doing so.
That's the whole point, is that the legislature is the one that approves the city council, these consolidated, any of these charters. And it's a top-down model. We're not making our own, and that's
right.
Part of the problem. The other thing that I wanted to say is, you know, if your timeline is to get this done by March, well, the legislature is no longer in session at that point,
That's right.
pretty much. So it still will be a longer time. So why a March deadline? Make it longer and let's do it.
I don't think anybody is going to squeal one way or the other if we finish late or if we finish early. There's not any pressure locally one way or the other.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing is that we need to have input.
Absolutely.
So that we know what y'all are going to even be giving to the legislature or whatever. And I think we also need to be talking to our local delegation. They have to get approval by the rest of the legislature for it to come down. Okay? And that's why it was thrown together back in 1990, whatever it was, because they finally got approval from the rest of the legislature and they said, go in and do it. And so it was put together. It was not done like this and not considered. And we were doing something different too. It had not been done. And the other thing that is different about us is that we have super districts. None, and that we didn't talk about that, but Augusta has super districts. And why was that important? And how does that figure in to some of these discussions about race issues and representation? That's another thing.
Thank you. Hold on one second.
So
There's a
Sheffy,
lot
I
of
have to
people want
also.
talk. Hold on one second. I'm coming back to you. Let me get Mr. Mason real quick. and I'll get you
So
back.
can you hang on one second, because we didn't get to the questions all the way through. If you can just hang on a second, or I can answer them real quick. Now, you're going to have to help me out here. That was question 1. What was question 2? That's okay. Yes.
Just for clarity, the Commission of Richmond County, along with the mayor, created a charter review board for some reason to look at a charter. And this board is going to come up with some recommendation under the guidance of that professional group. And when they come up with a proposal, it's not going to go to the commission to look at. I wonder how many commissioners knew that they was doing that. It ain't gonna come back to the commission. It's gonna go to Atlanta and other places. So your board that you created are no longer accountable to you. That don't make sense to me. And my other question had to do with, in the formation of this board among yourselves, and I'm trying to learn about a weak mayor, a strong mayor. Did this board select a super strong chairperson and they opted to just stay silent? Because I ain't heard nothing. I ain't heard nothing in it them say.
Well, part of it is because at last night's meeting, we had 2 microphones on the tables, and we had complaints from the audience because every time somebody shifted around in their chair, you had all this scratchy noise. And we've agreed among ourselves that if anybody wants to speak, you come here in one microphone kind of thing. We're here to listen and receive comments. That's right, Angela. Thank you. Okay.
All right, good evening. I'm Alvin Mason, 4504 Frank Warren Drive. It's right out here in Hepzibah, Georgia. First of all, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you who sent a prayer out for me during my, well, I'm still recovering, but I thank you for your prayers and your texts and your emails and that sort of thing. And I thank you for allowing me to serve you for a total of 12 and a half years on this commission. Let me say this, I'm not interested in how fast it gets done. But what I'm interested in is how right it gets done. Now, when you say who, there were questions about who asked for this to be done. Let me kind of put it in terms that we all can understand. I'll use you, Mr. Wembley, or even just everybody as a whole. If the Constitution was never amended and never changed, the majority of us sitting in here, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here. So let's keep it real. If those of us who served in the Army, Command Sergeant Major, if the Army was still like it was 30 years ago, 35 years ago, you'd have never been Sergeant Major, ever. I'm telling you, right about that. That's because changes had to be made. Change has to come. Now, is it change just for change's sake? No. But when you talk about, there's a lot of misinformation really being given. And we really haven't talked too much about the charter. Yeah, Augusta got issues with the no grocery stores, no this, that, and yeah, we got all that. But that has nothing to do with the charter right here. So what we need to do is stay focused on the charter, because when you say things are ineffective, because we get off target. So we need to get, no, hold on right there. We need to get more, if you give me a chance, I'm gonna get there. But I don't need to be rushed to get there. Just like I said about this deal. This deal don't need to be rushed, it needs to be done right. I'm not gonna be rushed. I'm not going to have you rush me or anybody else. Trust me, the man knows me, and you getting into where you don't fit in. Now let me say this. At the end of the day, you've got to understand how governments ran, why you have issues. So under this so-called weak mayor system that we have, which is not really a weak mayor system anymore, because you voted for the mayor to have a vote. So what we have is equal representation by every commissioner to include the mayor. We didn't have that before. So let me say this, when someone has a lot of unchecked power, they are more likely to become corrupt and abuse that power. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So there should be no one, in my opinion, who has absolute power. Period. We have 10 commissioners and we have a mayor. We have a city administrator. Now, again, we can get caught up in titles, but administrator, manager, none of that matters. It's the duties, whoever said that. It's the duties that matter. Under this current governmental system, what we have is 11 bosses for the directors and the department heads. Now, you got to decide what you want, and I still haven't heard that here today. We have a commission, whether you know it or not. Commissioners are part-time. When I started on this commission, it was $15,000 a year. 12 and a half years later, I made $30,000 up until 2 weeks ago, or whenever it was I resigned. $30,000 a year. I don't know about you, but I can't pay no bills with that. So right there, there's a problem. Because $30,000 a year is not going to work for anything. So we don't even have an office to operate out of. Did anybody know that? I operate out of my house. I operate out of my car. So what kind of business is that? Where the commission don't even have an office. Oh, Commissioner, I want to meet you at your office tomorrow. There is no office. Yeah, I see you. But we got to deal with the charter. So as an administrator should have some authority when it comes to the department heads. You meet with them every Monday or whatever it is, but you have no authority over them. In 12 and a half years, I've never written a single evaluation on any department head. That's not the way it's set up. But the department heads are reported to the commission. Now, who does that? No evaluations. Zero. Now, the commissioner in here did an evaluation. But that's the type of government we got. Now, I can go on and on. I see she's standing in front of me. We don't want to talk about the charter, but that's part of the issue with the charter. How can you have a department head that's supposed to be directed to me, directly reporting to me, or the commission as a whole, and none of us even do an evaluation on them at all? How do we know what they're doing? Or, since it's part-time, now we're in their business. Now we're down there all the time trying to figure out what's going on. You don't have the professional expertise to know what IT is all about. But you're making decisions. You got a $1.4 billion budget, and you've had commissioners who can't even balance their own checkbook. Now, I'm gonna keep it real. Cars being repossessed at commission meeting. Come on, somebody. So, what type of government do we need? We need to look at that. But absolute power corrupts absolutely. Doesn't matter who you are. It gives the idea that you can be corrupted. So no, I do not believe that we need a strong mayor government. I do not believe that. But we do need accountability, we need responsibility, and we need credibility. No accountability, no responsibility, no credibility. Brian Green, 2429.
Yeah, it's working.
How about now? Brian Green, 2429, Mount Auburn. Just a lot going on I'm hearing tonight. I want to pose this hypothesis to the Carl Vinson. very esteemed institution. When you come to Augusta, while you're in Augusta and you're doing this,
A little closer. Thank you.
while you, how's that?
A little better.
Is that okay?
It's a wireless mic.
Okay. All right. How about that? Anyway, when you report in every day to do your evaluation of Augusta and this charter review, I want to know rhetorically, what are your thoughts? Do you think Augusta's consolidation has been working for the past 29 years? Do you think that it's been working? And now that I'm just asking that rhetorically. If you were going to bring a business to Augusta, you on the Carl Vinson board, or you had a business to bring to Augusta, what would your motivation be to that? And it does matter, because when we said a charter review, and somebody said something, let's keep it on charter. I serve my country, we're in a free country. People are in here to speak on what's important to them. So all comments are important. And what we need to, and I do have one or two questions, I'll get to them. What we need to look at need to take a hard look at is, has consolidation been working for the past 29 years? Personally, I don't believe so. I don't give it a good grade. We say keeping it real. The division, we have to start addressing the elephants in the room. I've heard that somebody else say that before. We have to. Now, before I get to my question, I'd like to say this. What are some of the main things that draws industry and all that to a community, to a city? A good education system. We don't have that. We heard a board member say that we don't, right? So what can we do as far as to counteract that? The second thing, this does deal with the charter, and I hope you are reviewing this, is transportation. To get our leaders to see you don't necessarily make a profit on transportation. Somebody mentioned that earlier. I can't remember who. The lady said, these Ubers are not cheap. I hope you all are thinking about that during your charter. Augusta, you're the second largest city, or the third, I think now, after Columbus. You don't have an upgraded transportation system? Think about it, folks. This thing, our transportation routes are older than something. I'm 62. I mean, they're up there. So I hope that you all are considering that on your charter review, because that is part of this whole process, what moves the city forward. And my last thing, and I see our elected officials here and Mr. Mayor, but I say this professionally, I did disagree with some of the aspects. I won't get into that about this yes-no vote. And I do believe, forget strong mayor and titles, I believe in strong leadership, right? Strong leadership takes care of all that. But I pose this question to you all. Is there a way to balance, now that the mayor has a vote, and with all due respect to him, I'm looking down the road 10 years from now, 15 years from now that the mayor has a vote. Because my understanding, and one of y'all please correct me, the charter was designed so the commissioners could work things out, vote yes or no, up or down, and if the mayor is needed, he votes. Now that that has changed, I'm asking and I'm looking for a balance to that. And I hope maybe you all consider this, and that is this, because I look at it as a charter adjustment. I look at that as a change in charter, because now the mayor has a vote. So with that said, can we implement something to the fact that when you have a majority consensus down there, minority consensus, I don't mean color, I mean numbers, that you have an important issue of substance, of serious issue of substance, that instead of just a black-white majority vote get it, depending on if there's serious concerns from commissioners and they represent the voted percent, that we can have like a mandate or something in there to say we will address those issues. Let's take 3 weeks, 4 weeks to address those issues before we come back, and then we come back to do a vote up or down. At least it'll give us a balance.
Thank you. We have to give the mic because there are other people waiting to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Mr. Jefferson.
Hi, Madam Chair. I just want to make a public announcement. I heard a lot of comments about what we don't have and what we need in Augusta. I'd just like to remind people in the audience that we have something called the Richmond County Neighborhood Alliance. Every second Saturday of the month, we have a meeting. And then this meeting is going to be on the 2nd of August at James Correction at Henry Brigham, 9 o'clock. We invite all the elected officials. We see the mayor there, the commissioners are there, the sheriff is there, and that's the place you need to ask questions. And sometimes it gets rough in there, but those commissioners and mayor, they stand there and they take all the questions from the community. And this has been going on for a long time. But the citizens don't come out. The ones who care are always there. So I invite you to come this every second Saturday of the month, 9 o'clock. Correct. First Saturday. I always say I'm not going to say nothing when I get in here, but then I always do. Thank you.
I just want to ask a question and seek clarification. You said that you would be giving this to the delegation. Will that be the full Augusta delegation or just one member of the Augusta delegation? Because we've seen that picture before.
Ms. Sheffy, do you have someone that wanted to speak?
Yes. My name is Kate Watkins. I live at 1933 Woodchuck Way, Hepzibah, Georgia. And my question is, we have a representative body to review the charter. How will the people know what the representative body have decided to make their decision so that we, the people, will know? Now, I was told we go to that website. Suppose I don't have a computer. Suppose I'm technology illiterate. I don't have social media. So how will the masses know what the representative body, the people that have represented me, know what they are deciding to do with my future in Augusta, Georgia?
Sheffy can answer that for us.
So with regard to just about everything that happens with the city of Augusta, it's all online. If someone, unfortunately, if someone wants to access certain materials, they can come to the City Hall to get that information. Our actual meetings are every other Thursday from 10 to 12, so you can attend the meetings in person, where sometimes you can get that material in hand in a hard copy. It is cost prohibitive for us to do things in hard copy. However, if you do make the request, you can also do a Freedom of Information Act request to get that information too if you can't get it online.
But are you going to advertise to let the population know what's happening when you are doing it? So, because if I hadn't gone to church Sunday, and if I didn't have a good friend, I wouldn't have known about today's meeting.
What district do you live in?
4.
Okay, so...
And so, again, not just me, but the massive people, and we look at the representation that's here, and do people know what you're doing? Yes, we hear tidbits, snippets, but do we know the massive? So you're gonna have the meetings, you're representing a whole lot of people, but yet and still we have a handful that know what you're doing. And so we all should know, so when the time comes to vote, we'll know what we're actually voting for.
Right, I agree.
Yes.
We've had this discussion with every public hearing we've had. We live in an era where we have more information and we know less than probably most of history. And it's because, she's talking, it's because we don't have single sources of information the way we did in prior decades. So it takes more work on a citizen's part now to get that information. It's unfortunate, but that is the way it is. Currently, your representative is Ms. Barnhill?
She said.
And sometime shortly, I would imagine she's going to appoint a replacement since she is joining the Augusta Commission. So if you would just come up and tell her how to find you.
I'm one person. I'm talking about Augusta.
Yeah.
How do we know? How will Augusta know the decisions that's being made?
So the Augusta
someone-
Press is an online newspaper you subscribe to. The Augusta Chronicle, I don't know, really does much of anything local anymore.
Okay. When the mayor was running for mayor, all South Augusta knew he was running for mayor. He was visible and everything else. And so now we have a charter that's being revised. All Augusta needs to know what's going to happen in the future. And yes, we do need to look at it. Yes, we do need to review it. Yes, we do need to know what we have and what we need. But how are we going to know it's going to be representative of everybody and not just a handful of people that I am selected or elected because I knew somebody that knew somebody?
Okay. Ms. Sheffy will try to answer that.
So the challenge is we don't have print papers available anymore that used to put out a lot of this information. So we do want people to have this information, but it's been a challenge to get it out. So do you have any suggestions for how we get that?
Yes, I do. The same suggestion that was used when the mayor ran for for mayor. He had a headquarters in the area. And everyone else did too. So when they wanted to run for office, the commissioners, when they ran for their district, they got there and they made sure that the constituents knew what they were running, what their platform was. They put it out there. So now here we are revising, looking at the charter, good or bad. Everybody needs to know in every district. So maybe each commissioner needs to take part of that new charter, that revision, the old and the new. Tell people what they have and tell people what they want them to have. And if the question was asked, what's wrong with the charter? And the question was asked, what do we looking for? And that was never answered. So again, what do we have and what do we need? So that needs to be known. When they was running for commission, they told us what their platform was. We need to know what the platform is.
And we are about to get into that.
And so that's for everybody.
Yes, ma'am.
Not just me.
Oh yeah, I understand.
Everybody needs to know, and it needs to be so publicly. Yes, it doesn't have to necessarily be paper. You have radio, you have television, you have me report, Jenny report. You have Mix It Up at 12.
Yes, ma'am.
You have all this stuff. It
Yes,
needs
ma'am.
to be used to let everybody know what's being done and why.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much for that. That will be our last question. It's at 8 o'clock. We have to close things. If you do have any further questions or further information you'd like to provide, please sign the paper up here up front, and you can talk to us individually. We all have email addresses. We all have contact information.
Phone numbers.
We'd be more than happy to assist.
This is the first of at least 3 public meetings, so there's going to be plenty of communication. It may not reach all 200,000, but we'll do our best under this environment. If you have questions that haven't been answered, if you just want to, we can come to you.